Welcome to episode 4 of Black, White, Left, Right. We're going to break down the Ashes test that's just been test number 3 and go through what happened, why the result it was the way it was, and hopefully some suggestions for the fourth test, how they can get a better result, the Australians can get a better result. So day one, Australia ended up 250-ish, all out. England, couple of runs on the board, few wickets down. All in all, it was a pretty good day for Australia. Being sent in, the consensus was that both sides were going to bowl, but the way it happened, Australia lost the toss and England put them in. Now, to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of that tactic. It's one of those things where you look at the pitch, and it may be green, but I kind of feel like if you bat first, you've got a better chance of being able to control the game. Now, England, really well done on day one to get some of those quick wickets. But, they sent Australia in, so it was up to them to make the play and get those wickets, which they did. First over, Broad to Warner, out after hitting a 4 down the ground. It looked like Warner kind of had his shit together, for lack of a better word, and unfortunately he managed to nick off again to Broad. Then Uzi and Labuschagne Marnus had a little bit of a comeback, but it wasn't to be, and Uzi got bowled by an absolute jaffa. So there you go on that. And Broad, Wood bowled an absolute peach to Khawaja. He probably went a little bit hard at it, but it's one of those balls that's going to get you, or it's going for 4. And at 150 k's an hour, more likely to get you. Marnus, Steve Smith, both getting starts. I think when you look back on the 2 Australian innings, those two not going on with the job were real lowlights for Australia. They normally, once they get to 20, they normally go on with the job. So to get 21 and 22 in the first dig, Marnus have 30 in the second dig, that's the engine room for the batting side. Those guys have got to make the scores. And when they're averaging over 50 in Test cricket, you would expect them to go on. But to England's credit, Wokes came into the side, bowled really well. I thought he'd drop in pace as the match went on, but he didn't. Obviously, it only lasted 4 days, and they got to bowl twice in 3 days. So, he must have been feeling very fresh. Travis Head played a knock up the other end that we're unaccustomed to seeing, whereas Mitch Marsh went about his business with supreme confidence, really. 118 off 118. He went in there from ball 1 and played his game. Now, there was a little period when he was about 20 or 30, between 20 and 30, where it was a really crucial time of the game. And luckily he got through that. The scoring had just slowed down. You had Travis Head up the other end, really struggling to do what he normally does, and Mitch Marsh got through that period, and from then on it was smooth sailing until he was 118. Alex Carey hit on the head, and then it kind of went to shit. And there wasn't much to write home about in the lower order, and that's normally for Australia a really strong thing. Their lower order, their tail wags normally pretty well. You can guarantee 50, 60 plus runs from the bottom 4, and from the bottom 4 in this game, only 15 runs. So they would have been unhappy after the Mitchell Marsh innings and the Mitchell Marsh Travis Head partnership to end up with 263, because Travis Head got out at 6 for 245, so that's not even 20 runs that the last four managed to put on. Really disappointing, and they would have gone into the change room and maybe not discussed it then, but wanting to get one or two early wickets, they would have really wanted to make some inroads there. So at the end of the day's play, England were 3 for 68, and you thought to yourself, this is going to be good for Australia, because at 3 for 68 at the end of day's play, after sending Australia in, A, they didn't get them out for less than 250, and B, they lost 3 wickets that night. So pretty disappointing. I think they would have been with that effort at the end of the day one. But being England as they are, they come out and they play the way they do. And Ben Stokes was able to really put England on his back and get them back into the game, together with Mark Wood at the end there and Chris Wokes. And you know what? I think Australia, after day 2, would be disappointed again, because they had them on the ropes. They were 7 for 142, 8 for 167, 9 for 199. If they'd have got that last wicket, 200, England all out for 200, all of a sudden it's a different game. 63 in front instead of 20, I think 28 or something was in front, whatever it was. But it's a different game. Even that the Mark Wood innings, you get Mark Wood out earlier, all of a sudden that 63 run lead is an 80 run lead. And then you can really put the foot down as Australia, and you can control the game. But to get it back within 28 runs or 25 runs, I think it was pretty disappointing. And the tactics used weren't great. Short pitch bowling, right? I know that these batters in the lower order have gotten better over time. You know, you look back to the 80s, 90s, 2000s, lower order batsmen, you know, coming in 9, 10, 11 weren't that great, but now they're a little bit better. In saying that, you can still target the stumps. You can still bowl Yorkers. We don't have to be bowling short balls all the time. We can still be bowling outside off, making sure that we're setting fields to good bowling, not setting fields for just short pitch bowling. It went on for way too long, and I think that's where they missed a trick there. You saw, I think it was, Mark Wood getting out. Cummins got broad as well. Wokes nicked off to Carey. These English batters are going to come hard, but nothing beats good disciplined bowling. And if your only tactic to get your lower order batsmen out is bowl short, then they're going to hit you for some sixes. They're going to hurt you, right? It only takes one of them to pull it off. And we know Stuart Broad can do it. Mark Wood obviously can do it. And Chris Wokes has been really good in T20s in the past. So there's no reason why these guys can't do it. What they need to start doing is maybe bowling some Yorkers, setting the field, an offside field, making them play across the line if they want to go that way. You know, putting your third man back and making them play across the line to try to get the ball to deep mid-wicket, and then the ball goes off the edge down to third man, that kind of thing. You can still have your deep point and your ring, you know, but bowl outside off. And I said it earlier on in the series, our bowlers angle the ball in to off stump. Okay, so your Zach Crawleys, your Ollie Popes, that are strong onside players, they love that. What we need to make them do is play through the offside and set our field to playing through the offside. So that if they want to play that one through the leg side, they're actually playing across the line of the ball. But at the moment, they're not playing across the line of the ball because the ball is coming into them. They're just playing with the flow of the ball, with the angle, and they're hitting boundaries through there. I'd much rather them hit a 4-through cover if they can, and they can. I'd much rather them hit a 4-through cover than hit me through mid-wicket for 4 as a bowler. And then I can get my slips are in play, my gully's in play, my cover, my mid-off they're all in play. Okay? But if I'm bowling straight, and I've got my deep backward square out, my fine leg, and a mid-on, I can't have 3 slips in a gully because I need to have my mid-wicket. And if I don't have my mid-wicket, they're just going to hit me through mid-wicket for 4. So I think that's something that they need to look at. Understand that they're bowling at an angle. Boland is bowling at that angle. Hazelwood is bowling at that angle. Cummins is bowling at that angle. The one that had good success is Marsh to Crawley. Marsh, nice and straight. He was nice and close to the wicket. Bowl with that straight angle bat. Anytime they want to go towards the onside, they're actually closing the face, presenting less of the face of the bat and getting nicked off. So Crawley is the one. And then you've got, obviously Duckett's left-handed, so that angle is one of our strengths. And Stark going across those guys is really handy as well. So let's go to the third innings, which is Australia's second innings. Again, Warner, gee whiz, brother. What do you do, mate? What do you do? To be honest, I can't answer that for you. I just think if you do play the next test, mate, you've just got to go out there and play you. You've just got to play your game, the game that we've been accustomed to seeing from you, that counter punch, that aggressive nature, running hard between the wickets. Mate, don't leave anything out on the pitch. Leave strongly, leave with aggression and positivity as much as play your shots with aggression and positivity. Be in control and just control your destiny from here on in. Uzi, again, got off to a good start. Good ball from Wokes, bowling over the wicket, using the angle to his advantage. Again, Marnus, 33. That start, as I mentioned, we're accustomed to seeing these guys go on to make big scores after a start like that. So, yeah, I think it's obviously frustrating for Marnus, but also frustrating for everyone watching and back home in Australia and the Australians over in England to watch him get a start and not go on with it. Steve Smith, you hit one in the air off Moen Ali to mid-wicket. Yeah, he doesn't often do that, Steve Smith, does he? So then Travis Head bailed us out with Mitch Marsh contributing as well. Got a start there. And that was kind of a vital partnership, a 41 run partnership there, just to kind of steady the ship. And it was disappointing, obviously, for Mitch Marsh to get out when he did. But Wokes has bowled very well in this test match. So big up Chris Wokes. Carey, what can you say? Yeah. Stark, Cummins, Murphy, Boland, between the bottom 5, what's that, 33 runs? Not really good enough for Australia. We need a lot more from our tail, and we're accustomed to seeing that, and unfortunately we didn't this time. The England innings always felt like we were in with a shout. It always felt like one more wicket and it becomes a little bit tougher. One more wicket and it gets a little tougher. So to go from none for the night before and come out, get Ben Duckett really early. That was fantastic for Australia. And then Moeen Ali came out. Well, what are you going to do? Bat three for England. Probably not his position, but he was a buffer, and it worked for them. Joe Root came out, was batting quite well. Another 20. Zach Crawley got out, 44. When these wickets started to go, you just thought, yeah, we just got to get one more. We just got to get one more. And then we got Stokes, and that was huge because you had Harry Brook and Bairstow there. And then we got Bairstow. And all of a sudden you thought, hang on, we're a shout here. 6 for 171 with 70 runs to get. You thought, 4 more wickets with 70 runs. All right, let's just get Brook or Wokes. We'll just keep getting one more wicket, and we'll put more pressure on England. But Harry Brook wasn't to be. Harry Brook played a good innings and got England over the line. 75 off 93. Chris Wokes vital to their side as that all-rounder. 32 off 47. He's coming to that side with, I think, a renewed confidence in himself, and being in that environment, it's been really good. Interesting though, I think for England, first 2 tests have been a wake-up call. They cannot just go in and blaze and play one style of cricket. If you look at the innings played so far this test match, and by England in this last test match, the 3rd test match of the Ashes, Crawley 33 off 39, 84 strike rate. Stokes 80 off 108, 74 strike rate. And those are the only 2 of the recognised batsmen that had a strike rate over 50. We'll go to the second innings. Again, Crawley 80, Duckett 74, Joe Root 63, Brook 80, Stokes 86. Right? So these are down from 100% strike rate. Right? We've seen Zach Crawley, Ben Duckett go at hundreds, run a ball. We've seen Joe Root do the same, and Ben Stokes. Even Harry Brook. Harry Brook going at 80 is low for him. He's normally, when you look at his good innings, his big innings, they're run a ball. So they've tapered it back a little bit, and I think they've found a good balance. Cummins bowled incredible. The effort that he put in, the speeds that he was able to achieve through the whole test match were fantastic. Mitchell Starc, again, with a fifer in the second dig. I was surprised to see that Boland didn't have that impact. I thought he would have had an impact on this wicket. Australia will probably go with Hazelwood again, and Todd Murphy didn't really bowl in the second dig, only two overs. Maybe he should have come on a little bit earlier, around the Moeen Ali wicket with the left-hander, maybe to bowl to Ben Stokes with the left-hander. Maybe he could have done something there, but it wasn't to be. And now Australia really have to think about what's going on. You've got Warner struggling at the top. Khawaja is doing his thing. Marnus is also struggling. So you've got Marnus and Warner really struggling. And that top 5, that's really your engine room. Top 6, your 6th batter is the cherry on top. The top 5 have got to do a lot of the work. And if they do that work, number 6 can come in and change the game. He can change the tempo of the game. Carey and hopefully Green the next test match will come in back at number 6, and they can change the tempo of the game. But if the top 5, the top 4 really set up the game for Australia, I wouldn't be surprised if England won the toss again and chose to bowl. Whether it was Green or not, I would say they probably would, but I wouldn't be surprised. But Warner, Kawaja, Labuschagne, Smith, though they need to really set the game up for Australia in the first innings. And Marnus and Steve Smith, to really need to go on with it, and make big scores in this next Test match if Australia are going to win. As I said a couple of Test matches ago, I predicted 3-2 Australia. One more Test match, boys, and then we'll see. Hopefully, you'll win the next two, but at least win one more so you take home the Ashes. So that's the Ashes wrap up. Going into the next Test match, I don't see Australia changing too much. If they're going to make a change, Warner will come out, I think, and Mitch Marsh will stay in the side but open with Usman Khawaja. That gives you the left-hand, right-hand combination at the top. Then you've got Labuschagne, Smith, Head, Green back into the side, Carey, Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood, and Murphy. So yeah, you've got a good lineup there. Travis Head, I think, could be utilised more with the ball as well. If anything does happen to one of the frontline bowls, obviously you've got Mitch Marsh and Cameron Green there to bowl some overs as well. But I think it may be time to have a look at taking some pace off the ball. We're bowling, 140 clicks an hour, and we're bowling, as I said, I think 2 straight, and it's giving the English an opportunity to score freely on the onside. And even if they're not hitting boundaries, they're getting ones. So I think to tighten up, outside off, make them play away from their body. You might get a little bit of swing. If not, you can ring up the offside, take some pace off the ball with Head and Murphy, and see what England do if they're not scoring freely. They'll be playing their shots, but maybe they're not getting them through the field, and the score's not ticking over just as much as they want it to. And then you can slip in the in-swinger, the Yorker, the bumper. You can slip it in here and there to catch them unawares. But, that's how I would think of it. But that's not necessarily what Australia will do. I do hope they win and take home the Ashes in this next Test match after a good 9-10 day rest. The most recent race has just finished in Silverstone in England. Verstappen took home the honours in first, Lando Norris second, and Lewis Hamilton third. The whole weekend was a struggle for, I think, the Mercedes guys, to be honest. They really struggled in qualifying and also in the free practices. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell finishing, I think it was 6 and 7, starting 6 and 7 on the grid. Not where they would want to finish. On the positive side for the sport, though, McLaren back up there now. Piastri and Lando Norris finishing second in qualifying, Piastri third. So that was great to see that another team has made a step closer up the grid. So now we've got, obviously, the Red Bulls out in front, but it's not as big a gap as it was at the start of the year. We've got the McLarens, the Mercedes, the Aston Martins, and the Ferraris all vying for that second place, which is great for the sport because depending on the track, we're going to see some teams rise, some teams fall. So it's a really good omen for the rest of the season to see these teams pushing each other, making their rise when they bring up dates. Others having to do more work to get back up there. Those 4 teams I mentioned are going to really be in a fight for the rest of the year. Hopefully, as they fight, they can get closer to the Red Bulls and come up with something to hopefully beat Max in the near future. The Silverstone race, I think, was a great one because it's such high speed. Everything's high speed. The high speed corners, obviously lots of straights there as well. The little tricky bit in the middle of the course, but it's a really high speed course, and from track, I should say, and from everything I've heard, The drivers love driving there. So it was quite a good race to start with. Nothing really happened. The only thing of note, I think, of much note, was that Verstappen couldn't get off the line. Lando Norris led for the first couple of laps until Verstappen could switch on his tyres. Once he did that, he was in front of Lando and away. The first half of the race was about tyre management. A lot of guys taking the medium tyres and just trying to stick them out for as long as possible. And they did that. George Russell went for the softs, but he was able to maintain those tyres a pretty good way and was fifth for a large part of that first stint in the race. But then he pitted. After he pitted to put mediums on, there was a safety car, and that allowed Lewis Hamilton and some others to come into the pit and then put on soft tyres, which they used to the end. McLaren put on hard tyres, I think, just before the safety car, or during the safety car. They put hard tyres on, which was not what the rest of the field were doing, but it worked for them. They were able to stay in front of Lewis. Lando was able to stay in front of Lewis on the hard tyres, Lewis on the softs, and once those softs, went away after about 7 or 8 laps, Lando just cruised for the rest of the race in second place. As I said, Lewis ended up third. After that, Piastri, then George Russell. So it was a really good race for McLaren, a really good race for the two Mercedes as well, starting 6 and 7, finishing in third and fifth. So they both went up the grid there. Probably the most disappointing thing about the race was Sergio Perez finishing 6th place, starting in 15th. He's got some work to do. And also Lance Stroll. I think Lance Stroll, last legs, buddy. Last legs, I tell you. I would say that you need a couple of big weeks before the summer break to really solidify your spot for the second half of the season. Otherwise, old Daddy-O might have to pull the pin on you. And if that happens, who knows? Who knows? Thanks for tuning in this week. Stay good, and we'll see you next week.
Clap your arms like a bird flying around. Then point your fingers at the cold dead ground. Make like a